Hi, I'm Debbie Ponticus, Associate Broker at The Brokery. And in today's episode of Home Health, I'm going to walk you through some of the things you should think about and budget for if you're considering purchasing a home. I've created a simple guideline for my clients called The Cost of Buying a Home, which I'll be walking you through today. So be sure you wait to the end and see how you can get a copy for yourself. For today's episode, I'm going to assume that you will use financing or a loan to purchase the house. If you're planning on paying with cash, you can still follow along and just eliminate any of the costs associated with getting a loan and calculating your budget. The first out-of-pocket cost you will need saved is what's called the earnest deposit. This is typically about 1% of the purchase price and will need to be deposited with the title and escrow company within 24 hours of going under contract. This deposit is fully refundable if a buyer cancels the contract during the due diligence period or the inspection period. If you do not cancel the contract, the deposit goes hard or becomes non-refundable and will be applied towards your total down payment at closing. Once under contract on a home, you will need to have budgeted for some additional out-of-pocket expenses that are not refundable. These include inspection fees such as a general inspection, termite or pest inspection, plumbing scopes, and other inspections you may wish to conduct for things like the roof or pool and heating and cooling systems. Your realtor can guide you through what types of inspections may be necessary for the home you are purchasing. Other non-refundable fees your lender may require during the purchase include an appraisal fee and a credit report fee. Now, let's move on to what we call closing costs, which will be line items for you on what is called a settlement statement. These are fees charged by your lender and the title and escrow company to help process the loan and clear title. Lender fees may include loan processing fees, underwriting fees, prepaid interest, and impound fees, which are typically 3 months of prepaid homeowners insurance and property taxes. In addition, your lender gives you the chance to buy down your interest rates with points. You will need to pay for those points at closing. All lenders have slightly different processing fees, so be sure to check with your preferred lender prior to purchasing the house to get an estimate of what they will charge you to process your loan. As far as title and escrow fees for a buyer, these will include the buyer's half of title and escrow processing fees, a lender's title policy, which is a requirement for the buyer to purchase, and title policies protecting the title company. There are also various fees such as signing costs, courier charges, and government recording fees. All in all, I typically recommend a buyer budget for at least 1% of the purchase price for lender and title closing costs. And if you're electing to buy down your interest rate with points, don't forget to budget a little extra for that as well. In addition to the lender and title fees we just talked about, depending on how you negotiate your purchase contract, the buyer may be responsible to pay for fees such as a home warranty, if that's important to you, and certain HOA fees like transfer fees and capital improvement fees, if the home is located within a homeowners association. Your realtor can help you negotiate these fees depending on if you're in a buyer's market or a seller's market. And sometimes you can negotiate seller's credits or concessions to help offset some of those closing costs. But it's best to go into the purchase knowing all the costs you may be responsible for as a buyer at closing. On closing day, you will need to make sure you have saved enough money for your final down payment. This will be given to the title and escrow company on the day of closing when you go in for your signing, usually in the form of a check or a wire transfer. So if you were putting 20% down and you already deposited 1% as your earnest deposit, you will need the additional 19% in cash on the day of closing. Now, this is in addition to the lender and the title closing costs we just discussed. And finally, don't forget to budget for your move. Prior to purchasing your house, be sure to reach out to a moving company and get an estimate of what it'll cost you to either move or store your belongings when it comes time to move. Each transaction is different. And while this overview may not be inclusive of every cost associated with buying a home, I hope it at least gives you a great starting place so you can budget and save your money to ultimately buy the dream home you've always wanted. If you would like a copy of these guidelines, shoot me an email at debbie@thebrokery.com. And if you or anyone else you know have other questions about real estate, I'd be happy to help you. Just reach out. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Home Health. I'm Debbie Ponticus, and I'll see you next time.